Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of Another Pass, where we talk about movies and all the struggles that go into making them. If you like it, check out the whole podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Right, and this movie is too long across the board for the PG version of the movie that it is. Like, especially the G cut that I'm going to pitch later. Like, this movie can't get away with its runtime, even honestly, if it was a more mature audience, and that's the only scenario where you could even like pretend that like an over 2 hours long living cartoon is like an okay setting. Like having it be over 2 hours and a PG movie, and you're like, oh well, we padded out the scene with extra like bits of the kids running around. I'm like, the length is the first problem. Like the kid sidekick is the secondary thing. Like no, like the audience is checked out because the scene's too long, not because like, oh, we didn't have to spend enough time with our 8-year-old. Like that's classic Wachowski problem. Yeah. That said, before we move on from Spritle, really from Chim Chim, I want to bring up, well, two things. One, I want to explain why we keep calling Chim Chim a murderer. Because we've alluded to it a few times. So Chim Chim at multiple points picks up a monkey wrench, and uses it to beat people over the head with it. It's played for laughs, or at least as much as laughs in a fight are. There's like no blood. It's just like, oh, I got hit really hard, doozy, and like fall over kind of stuff. But it is a chimpanzee beating a person with a piece of steel. That in the Fast and the Furious movies is why Dominic Toretto goes to jail. And Dominic Toretto is not as strong as a chimpanzee. So that's why we're calling Chim Chim a murderer, because I went on a tear on Twitter, which might still exist when this episode drops, that you can find about how Chim Chim is a murderer. So that's what we keep alluding to. But also, Chim Chim created some problems for the production because one of the two apes bit someone on set.
Innocent. I don't believe it. It was that person's fault.
Oh, I'm sure that the circumstances were pushed, and then the trainer hit the ape. Which was also bad, and so like the American Humane Association like had problems with him, and PETA had problems with him. Now I don't really care what PETA thinks about anything, frankly, but the fact that there was violence done towards a chimpanzee is a problem.
Yeah,
and they were in that circumstance, which is a problem. And I realized it was 2008, where we hadn't really nailed how to do like fake animals quite yet. Like, if any movie could have gotten away with it, it could have been this one. But I also understand just wanting to have a chimpanzee, like an actual chimpanzee.
Yeah, there's kind of the old adage in film, like, what are the two things that are the worst to work with on set? It's children and animals, because of very reasonable child labor laws, and also animals are animals, and sometimes they're just not going to do what they're trained to do. And so anytime you put one in a movie, there's bound to be some chaos behind the scenes. I'm surprised there's honestly not more of it in this movie.
Right. Yeah, so I just think having an actual chimpanzee was like playing with fire, and people actually got burned, including the chimpanzee. So that's I don't know. Sad. I mean, this is post the King Kong movie with Andy Serkis. Mm-hmm. We could have gotten Andy Serkis doing a trifecta of gorilla or of ape presentations.
I was like, ooh. I was like, what are you doing, friend? Let's get their species right. We just went through 5 movies.
I know.
You got to be on this.
You got to be careful. Our ape overlords will be listening to this archive.
That's true. When our genetic testing brings back Gigantopithecus, we will all be crushed under the thumb of the massive orangutans.
When they choose their pet servant humans, I plan to be on the list. And if you're not with me, you're going down, friend. I'm selling you out. That's all I'm saying.
I will do my best. I'm pretty sure I've made it very clear that I'm a big fan of apes. So hopefully they'll be like, oh yeah, no, we like this one.
He knows so much.
He just keeps talking about how the differences in wrist structure between gorillas and chimpanzees indicate that they separately evolved knuckle walking. Mm-hmm. Anyway, moving on. I just wanted to bring up that part.
I'm proud of you and ashamed of you.
Yes, of course. So, let's be clear. I am a monster. Remember, if you like that clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.